What's up people, it's Wasabi and I'm back with another review. And today we have the ZA13-DW and this was sent to me by Zowie to share with you guys. But as always with the content on this channel, these are my thoughts, personal opinions and experiences with the product. Now before we get on with the review, here's a quick look at the packaging because that's what you pay for too. Inside the box, first you have the mouse, a quick start guide, a regulation booklet, a warranty card, extra control and speed skates, a USB receiver and adapter, the enhanced 4K wireless receiver, a USB-C cable, and that's pretty much all that's included inside the box. Now before we go any further, let's manage some expectations here real quick. This is not a new shape or design by Zowie. This was first released about 3 years ago, and with mice in the new DW series, they are updating the previous designs with new internals, wireless tech, and weight reduction. Most of you should already have some idea of what Zowie does and the products that they make, but just keep in mind that for Zowie, the top priorities for their mice are build quality and a balance of performance and reliability. Just so you know, this is an original shape that many mice that you see on the market today have taken inspiration from, and with that in mind, this mouse is going for about $150. You got the uni shell design, which is something that they do with all their mice, along with Zowie's iconic scroll wheel design that gives ridiculously good grip and durability. You also got the glossy side buttons and the red Zowie badge on the back. The design on the bottom of the mouse is the exact same layout as their Zowie U2 and all other mice in the DW series. You got the polling rate button, a DPI button, and a switch to power on the mouse to connect to either the enhanced wireless receiver or the standard USB wireless receiver. Mouse button wobble is minimal, and this is also one of the benefits of having a unishell design. The scroll wheel feels very securely fitted in position, and the side buttons, I don't feel any play while brushing my thumbs across them. All touch points, the sides, the top, the back of the hump, and even the bottom of the mouse are extremely solid on my unit with no flexing or creaking. This mouse is on a level of solid build quality that you only get from using Zowie mice. The stated weight on the website is 65 grams, and on my unit with the skates that it comes with, it weighs in at 65 grams. Awesome. Before I get into more detail with the shape and how it feels from my experience, to put things into perspective, my hand size is 17.5 by 9. This is a shape that is meant to give you the best support for a claw grip style and control for flicks. The number 3 represents a smaller size for all their mice, so if you have large hands, you probably would have to wait for them to release the medium and large sizes. You got very subtle mouse button grooves, and the mouse buttons here are very narrow, so there's not much space for you to freely position your fingers. I mean, just look at that, there isn't much space for my fingers to reposition. The front end is very low, which is common for a claw-specific shape like this. It allows you to claw the mouse at a much lower and more relaxed angle compared to shapes that are higher up in the front. The sides are angled, the front end tapers inwards, and it's got this distinct lip on the sides here that makes the mouse easy to lift. And this is a design detail I haven't noticed on other mice. The midpoint of the mouse curves inwards, and it does make your hand feel locked in. And the side buttons are positioned a little too forward in my opinion, but this could be just for my hand size. The hump is very prominent, but what I can say is that it is very supportive for the claw grip style. Just resting my hand keeps it at a consistent angle for a claw grip because the contact is up to the joints of my fingers. It's cool because with lower humps, there's space between the top half of my hand and the highest point of the mouse, which then gives you allowance for vertical adjustments. But here I can just let the shape do its thing, and my hand is always supported at a consistent angle. Overall, this feels like a shape that leans towards giving you the best claw grip and control over the mouse, compared to a shape that is accommodating to what's most comfortable for you. The coating is very nice. It's not the grippiest I've experienced, but it is excellent nonetheless. And for a black mouse, the coating on mine holds up super well. It's the least smudgy coating on any black mouse I've ever used, but of course, as with all coated mice, this can change as the coating wears off over time, and it depends from user to user. Wow, you know, these skates that are fitted on are average, but it is a good change. Now this is a big deal because with previous Zowie mice, they would have the black skates on which feel too slow for quite many people, and these white ones are faster, which is great, but not the smoothest glides. I think these are good enough for most people to enjoy, and if you want something smoother, you can try third-party options. And I think the best thing is that all of Zowie's mice in the DW series use the same shaped skates as the Zowie U2, and there are already plenty of third-party skates with that one. And now this part is to help people visualize the different grip styles on the ZA13-DW with reference to my hand size. The shape is excellent for a claw grip style, it's pretty much designed for that. And with my hand size of 17.5 by 9, I find myself quite naturally using a regular claw grip. You can do a relaxed claw grip with your index and pinky fingers extended, but because of how much the side curves in, it makes it feel like the front end is flaring out. For my hand, this shape feels the most comfortable when you grip the sides right around the middle, but then you lose the benefit of the lip up front, which according to their website is there to help make this mouse easier to lift. So when you hold the mouse anywhere before this point, you really don't get much of that support. And for the aggressive claw grip style, it's borderline too much of an angle here, so this is not a grip style that I use very often. A palm grip style on this mouse is one that I cannot do. It's way too uncomfortable because the hump feels like it's being forced into my hand. And for the fingertip grip style, I like to have more freedom of motion within my hand when controlling the mouse. And the hump of the ZA13-DW for me gets too much in the way as it grazes the top half of my hand. Here you got transparent Huano blue shell pink dot switches. It is the most popular mechanical switch for how it sounds and feels. On this mouse, you need a firm but not too strenuous press, and you get a moderate amount of pre-travel and post-travel towards the end. They are nice and contribute to the solid feel of this mouse. Not a click experience I would recommend if your game requires a lot of spamming though. If you are familiar with the Zowie U2, which has these switches as well, it feels tighter here. In fact, not just the switches, but everything about this mouse feels tighter than the U2. Not necessarily a bad thing, after all, it's a different mouse with a different structure and a different experience in mind. And on my crispy meter with the way they sound and feel, I'll put them right about here. The side buttons are pretty small, but again, this is the smallest size of this shape. And if they made the side buttons any bigger, I would probably find myself to be pressing the side buttons by accident. On my unit, they are light to press and they are nice and clicky. No pre-travel and very little post-travel on the forward side button. And on the back, it's a little springy with no pre-travel and a moderate amount of post-travel. I think Zowie has one of the best scroll wheels for gaming because they managed to keep the steps very distinct without making the scroll wheel feel stiff. It is very unlikely for you to overscroll on this one. And for me, I think this is a great combination because you don't need so much force to scroll, and at the same time, it's easy to count your steps and know when to stop. The scroll clicks feel stiffer here compared to their most recent mouse, but still, because of how distinct the scroll wheel steps are, I don't find myself scrolling unintentionally when pressing down on the click. However, being completely honest, this scroll wheel sounds like ass. There is no better way to put it. It is the worst sounding scroll wheel on any gaming mouse I've used. Now, here's a quick sound test to give you a better idea of how this mouse sounds. This has a port 3950 sensor. I'm just surprised because Zowie has a reputation for squeezing out what they can from older tech, and everyone expected Zowie to use a port 3395, which is perfectly fine and perfectly good for a high-performance gaming mouse today. I don't know if my reaction is an insult or a compliment, but really good on them for using a new sensor here, especially for the price. No problems with the sensor, it's been tracking perfectly well on and off game, and yeah, it's the latest one you can find on most high-performance gaming mice today. Zowie mice are driverless, which means no software. And I love driverless mice, but there are limitations like you can't make fine adjustments to your DPI and you can't remap your buttons. And now I'm going to run through real quickly how you can configure your mouse with a combination of buttons. First, to connect the mouse to the enhanced receiver, push the power switch to the right. And to connect to the USB receiver, push the power switch to the left. To change the pulling rate, push this button here. And after 1000 Hz, you got 2000 indicated by 2 lights on the left and 4000 with 2 lights on the right. And for DPI adjustment, press the button on the right and it cycles through different colors. For low LOD, press and hold mouse buttons 1 and 4 and power on. For medium, press and hold mouse buttons 1 and 5 and power on. And for high, press and hold mouse buttons 1, 2 and 4 and power on. Fast click response, press and hold mouse button 4 and power on. And for normal, press and hold mouse button 5 and power on. To enable motion sync, hold down the scroll click and mouse button 4 and power on. To turn it off, hold down scroll click and mouse button 5 and power on. To check battery life, just power on the mouse or put it on the receiver and you should see how many bars you have left. The battery life you can expect to get with a 1000Hz wireless polling rate is up to 80 hours, and at 4000Hz you can expect about 24 hours. Now both of these are estimates based on the mouse moving in constant motion, and the charging time takes about 2 hours to a full charge. 4000Hz polling rate has a reputation of draining the hell out of a mouse's battery life, but Zowie's wireless mice have such a convenient charging system that this is a mouse that I really do not mind leaving on the highest polling rate at all times. And this is because when I'm off my setup to make lunch, or if I'm taking a break watching a video on my computer, I can just sit the mouse on the enhanced receiver to get some juice back. And honestly speaking, this is the best system to help with battery drain from high polling rates. This is something that I love about Zowie's mice, and it makes them great as a main on your setup. It sounds simple and a little gimmicky in theory, but when you use this mouse day to day, it's a feature that you wish to see other brands have for their mice. Connectivity wise, you can use this wirelessly with the enhanced receiver, which allows for high polling rates, or the USB receiver, which is limited to 1000Hz. And of course, you can use this wired, which is capped at 1000Hz. So I've been using this on my Artisan Type 99 with a low mouse sensitivity of 0.105 at 1600 DPI for Valorant, and something like 1% on Overwatch 2. I love the control and support this shape gives towards the front. It feels great for flicking and repositioning. No problems with tracking or stability, not even on 4000Hz polling rate. I've been mostly using this mouse at 4000Hz every day, and I've actually never seen the battery life drop below 2 bars because at the end of the day, I just put my mouse on the receiver because it's just so convenient. I like the weight. It's a little on the heavier side if you consider today's expectations. I enjoy swapping between light and ultra lightweight mice to keep my setup experience fresh, and a weight like this makes the mouse feel substantial, which I enjoy. So in conclusion, what are 3 things that I like about this mouse? Driverless, and using a mouse not needing to install any apps or having to close them after you tweak a setting or two feels good. It doesn't sound like much, but it feels like a breath of fresh air for some reason. The setting that I would change the most, even though not very often, is my polling rate. And I can do that just with the button under the mouse, and with other mice, I will have to launch an app just to do something so simple. The second thing is wireless charging, and it comes with the mouse. For Zowie mice, you are getting quite a lot for what you pay for. Most other mice don't have a charging system like Zowie does, and it is a nice thing to have on your setup. And the last thing is the skates, and before I got this mouse, I was a little worried they would continue using the black ones. Those are good control skates, but players of the esports titles they are targeting, mainly tactical FPS, generally those gamers would have control-oriented pads like the GSR2 for example, and the black skates on a pad like that feels uncomfortably slow for me. Having the speedy white skates as a default is a lot more suitable with where market trends are headed, and if you really like the black skates, well, they included that in the box with an extra set of white ones as well. I think this is a very good step in the right direction for Zowie as far as product experience is concerned. Now, what are 3 things I feel could be improved with this mouse? Actually, more of suggestions, and the first thing is a web-based software. I personally enjoy being able to configure my mouse with the buttons, and switching polling rates is so much quicker this way. But for every other control, I can never remember the combinations, so if in future Zowie can create a simple web-based software where you can tweak all these settings, it will make the experience a lot more user-friendly for most people. And this is not to replace the on-mouse controls, but you know, just an alternative way to set up your mouse. The second thing is the scroll wheel is really good for gaming, but it sounds pretty terrible, and I'm sure there are reasons why that is. But I would very much welcome the idea of a more pleasant sounding scroll wheel if it is possible without affecting the performance. And the last thing is, for the price they set their mice at, people today will expect things like 8K polling rate, the fastest click response time, and the lowest sensor latency, because if not, they'll question the brand's ability to innovate and improve their tech. People today will want more than what they need if you're gonna charge a premium. And if a brand says you don't need 8K polling rate, you don't need sub-millisecond click latency, then the customer will say, why do they need to give you $150 when more affordable options can give me more performance for less? See what I mean? So this is where I see Zowie might struggle with people's expectations and how quickly the industry is progressing. Now, final thoughts, and what do I think of its value? Zowie mice have always been very expensive, but to me the quality and being the original designers of the shape is big value to me, so credit is given where credit is due. And though the mice are not what I would recommend if you have a strong preference for ultra lightweight mice, or if you prefer a mouse with high performance and aesthetics, really there is nothing wrong with that. But with Zowie mice, you are paying for a great quality product, and owning this mouse and the U2 that I bought earlier in the year, I never felt like I'm being shortchanged, you know what I mean? What I can say about this one is that it has an excellent supportive shape for the claw grip style, flicking feels great, and this might be my favorite release of the year. I don't know, the year hasn't ended yet, so we'll see. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful in any way, please leave a like and subscribe to support the channel, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Zowie.